It's 4:42 on the 1st of February 2024. This upload is with regard to the integrity and the authenticity of Brexit and COVID origins, and the exception there is that I take from these circumstances where the integrity is being offended by individuals that are campaigning and canvassing for a covetous agenda that isn't exactly causeworthy. So this is all a part of the human rights offences I'm experiencing. It's all a part of the hate crime, I suppose. And that sounds quite juvenile considering that these are adults that are meddling, to say the least, in affairs that don't actually pertain to their realm of existence. So it's wrong in many ways, and far from putting things right, I'm seeing more interference, intrusion, and more breach of confidentiality and privacy occurring. People speaking without the right to disclosure. Those that haven't been nominated or designated as third parties in circumstances that would need permission. People speaking out of place, etc., about matters that they have no authority to be discussing. Personal details are also being brought to the attention of those that have already suffered from the cases of disinformation that have been on this island. There has been disinformation, there's been defamation, and there's been disrespect. So there's been a lot happening, and it hasn't all been quite good since COVID-19 commenced. But prior to that, we know the damages that were being caused to society, and it all kicked off really and truly in 2017, even just prior 2016, 2017. So these incidents that are happening are being brought to the attention again of the authorities. The individuals that are aware of how important it is to respect the foundations that were laid from COVID-19 and Brexit, those that are not of recovery, that aren't of sanity and sobriety, really, those insulting or injuring sanity and sobriety, as I've said already, those that have been acting in bad faith, those that have been offending all creeds and all codes of good faith, those that are speaking, as I've said, out of place and causing extra damage to the Hippocratic Oath. There's so much I could mention. There's a lot going on that's quite wrong, and I'm really curious of how some individuals aspire to standards that they're not actually meeting. It's really, this is a criticism of huge failings that I'm still awaiting to have put right. So those that aren't minding their own affairs, and those that are using terms loosely and not protecting the role of the advocate. As I've mentioned, I'm with recovery for nearly 20 years. I'm an educator for even more. It's a long time, 2 decades, if not more. So, it's quite dangerous that individuals be offending the role of the advocate, which I believe have gained extra safety measures to their positions. So it's quite comforting in certain respects, but in some cases, as in my own, that have obviously been short-sighted, the culprits have been short-sighted in a lot of wrongdoings, and it's just incident of offence after offence after offence, and casualty and casualty and casualty, and I'm still waiting for people to have sense and saying things properly about what's right and what's wrong. It's very simple. Even a 7-year-old would know. So it's a sad sign of the times that there are some incidents like this where the role of the advocate is being offended, or where there are, as I've mentioned, crimes against the faith, and people using terms very dangerously. Like, as I've mentioned, there's been defamation laws offended, and it's quite serious when people use or bandy terms around the place that aren't fitting, appropriate, or substantiated. People that have resorted to to unlawful actions or unlawful detentions or debt evasion. Like, as in my circumstances, there are people that have just been causing me offence and deviating from the truth and reality of what they actually owe, not just monetary, but in gratitude. There have been people's lives salvaged, and there have been people's lives rescued, and that's as a consequence of certain circumstances that arose from the endeavours I took upon myself when wrongdoing commenced against my young son. So this issue is quite serious. There are people that are not above the law. They're not worth the law. They're not acting in the remit of the law, and they're offending the law again. So I'm tolerating quite a big, huge wrongdoing, and it's quite serious because as a mother, we all have our caretakers and our guides and guardians. So those people that are offending the safety of a child in this world, is that progress? Is that right? And what does it mean to these people to be so destructive with so many casualties they've caused already since taking my child from me, without warning, without prior supervision, care order, without any notice or without any paperwork, without legal representation, without a proper court fair hearing or anything like that. So it's quite astonishing what this tells us about what's happening in Tralee. Tralee County Kerry in the southwest of Ireland has incurred a lot of casualty since causing all these problems with my privacy, property, and my entitlements. So I'm still awaiting authorities to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and to protect the role of the advocate that I am, the educator, the advocate, the humanitarian, and so on and so forth. So, without sounding egotistical, this is quite a serious, huge achievement. COVID and Brexit is quite huge, and those that are implicating themselves in my professional portfolio or that have been of bad practices or bad faith, I think it's really important that people respect the honourability aspect, to honour a person's procedural processes, the P's. It's quite huge what practice has done to the system since disinformation was conducted. So if I'm not making myself clear enough, I doubt I'll be able to say any more. I could say a lot, but if it's a huge issue. There's a lot of intricacies, a lot of complexities, and a lot of matters that are quite sensitive. So this is a sensitive issue. It's about wrongdoing. It's about democracy.